Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going to tackle something we all deal with every single day, stress. But we're going to look at it in a completely new way. Not as something to run from, but as something we can actually turn into fuel.
So, let me kick things off with a simple question that most of us probably think we already know the answer to. We're always told that stress is the big bad enemy, right? Something we need to eliminate. But what if that's not the whole picture?
And look, the stakes are incredibly high. This quote really hits home. It's from a mentor who said he's seen countless talented, capable people just completely crash and burn. Not because they weren't smart enough, but because they simply couldn't get a handle on the pressure.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start by asking if stress is a foe or a friend. Then, we'll dive into this really cool analogy, the lion versus the deer. From there, we'll talk about our deer brains and how they operate in today's world. And then the good stuff, how we can actually choose to be a lion and train ourselves for it. Let's get into it.
All right, first up, let's just completely reframe how we think about this. It's not as simple as stress being bad and no stress being good. It's way more nuanced than that. I mean, seriously, think about it for a second. If you had zero pressure in your life, no deadlines, no challenges, nothing, would you ever really achieve anything important? Probably not. The right kind of stress is actually the spark that gets us moving. You see, the real danger isn't the stress itself, it's how we try to escape it. The real problem starts when we fall into these traps, numbing ourselves with a drink, distracting ourselves, or just disappearing down the rabbit hole of our phones for hours. These are just temporary escape hatches. They don't solve anything. So, if there are two sides to stress, how do we wrap our heads around them? Well, let's head out to the savannah for a minute. Imagine a lion and a deer. They are both experiencing intense, high-stakes stress. But for them, it's a completely different world. This chart just nails the difference. For the deer, it's what we call a threat response. Its entire world shrinks down to one thing, survival, and its only instinct is to run. But for the lion, it's a challenge response. Its focus is on a goal, getting dinner, and its instinct is to pursue it. Same stress, totally different mindsets. Let's dig into the deer's experience. The moment it senses danger, its body just explodes into action. It's pure fight or flight. Adrenaline goes through the roof. Its blood vessels actually tighten up to minimize bleeding if it gets hurt, and all the oxygen in its body gets redirected to its legs for one reason, to run for its life. The crazy part, this actually pulls oxygen away from the brain. Okay, now let's flip to the lion. It's stressed too, right? It's hungry, it needs to succeed, but its body responds in a completely different way. Its heart pumps like crazy, sure, but it's to increase circulation and send a surge of energy everywhere it's needed for the hunt. This isn't panic, it's pure focused determination. The stress becomes its fuel. So, a lion and a deer. How on earth does this apply to our lives, filled with emails and traffic jams instead of predators? Well, this is where it gets really fascinating. Here's the thing. Our brains are basically running on really, really old software. They were wired up 100,000 years ago, back when we humans were a lot more like the deer than the lion. So our default setting, our factory preset, is to be on high alert for threats all the time. Today, obviously, we don't have lions hiding in the bushes, but our ancient deer brain treats modern challenges like they're the exact same life or death threat. That gut-wrenching fear before a public speech, the anxiety of launching a new business, even worrying about how many likes your post will get. Your body can interpret all of that as a lion is about to eat me. But, and this is the absolute game changer, unlike animals who are just locked into their instincts, we humans have something they don't. We have a choice. We have this incredible ability to hit the pause button. We can notice that deer-like panic rising up, and we can consciously choose to shift our mindset. We can learn to reframe that scary threat into an exciting challenge. And the best part? This isn't some superpower you're born with. It's a skill. You can actually train yourself to do it. Let me tell you an amazing story about this. The world-famous film director Thananchai had this huge piece of land that he loved, where he spent years planting a forest. And one day, he gets a call. A massive wildfire is raging. It's headed straight for his property, and there is absolutely nothing anyone can do to stop it. It's a total loss. Now, what would most of us do? Freak out, right? That's the deer response. But Thananchai's first move was to sit down at his computer and search
What are the benefits of a forest fire? Can you believe that? Instead of despairing over the threat, he immediately started looking for the opportunity hidden inside the disaster. And that, right there, is the perfect example. He was facing an overwhelming, uncontrollable threat, and he made a conscious choice to see it as a challenge, a new situation that he could learn from. That is the lion's mindset. So, you're probably thinking, okay, that sounds great, but how do I actually learn to do that? We can't just wait for a crisis to practice. The secret is to train our brains ahead of time using something called controlled stress. The concept is pretty simple, really. You intentionally put yourself into a situation that feels stressful but you know is completely safe. It's basically a flight simulator for your nervous system. You get to practice handling the intense feelings in a safe space so you're ready when the real thing happens. An ice bath is a perfect example. The second you plunge into that freezing water, every alarm in your body goes off. It's a massive shock, and that deer brain starts screaming, "Danger! Get out now!" But you know you're not actually in danger. So instead of jumping out, you take control. You focus on your breathing, long, slow, deliberate breaths. And that simple act tells your nervous system, hey, I'm in charge here, and you consciously shift from panic mode to a calm, focused state. When you do this over and over, you're not just toughing it out. You are literally rewiring the neural pathways in your brain. You're teaching it a whole new default response to stress. So the next time pressure hits you at work or in life, your brain doesn't automatically go into deer mode. It's learned a new trick to face the challenge with the focus of a lion. So I'll leave you with this question. The next time you feel that familiar spike of anxiety, that knot in your stomach before a big moment, just remember, you have a choice. You can let that ancient deer brain take the wheel and run, or you can take a breath, face it head on, and choose to be the lion.